Welcome to the Blessed to Teach Show. This is Rick, your host. Here we are on Wednesday, June 26th, and we are talking about some exciting things going on here. Let me flip to my header chart. Criminal cabal and Iran. This is crazy if you really think about it. The criminal cabal is controlling Iran, just like the criminal cabal was controlling North Korea. Now we're getting more detail from SB2 on exactly how Iran's being controlled, some great history on Iran, so stay tuned for that. Also, Unmasker in Chief. Unmasker in Chief. It's going to be crazy to really see how this unmasking has done with Samantha Power is really coming out now. It's really a bombshell that came out. Of course, the mainstream media is not talking about it all. It was released on Jonathan Solomon's The Hill. And we'll go over that as well. Crazy stuff here. We got a lot of people coming in from all over the place. Thanks from Fort Worth in Pennsylvania, New Zealand. Natalie from New Zealand, thank you for being on. We got fireworks going on somewhere. Somebody's talking about. Oh, somebody's talking about fire. Moeller there. We're coming on the 17th. Virginia's here. Kansas. Thank you guys all for coming. Let's get going here. We've got again tons of stuff, and we're not going to be able to get through it all. And so Q has not posted since the 26th, as we know. But wow, is he speaking with future proves past? This is just the bombshell from today. Unmasker in Chief. Samantha Power spewed anti-Trump bias in government emails. Big time bias. And then the amount she unmasked were hundreds of people unmasked. What's most shocking about this article, and I'm not going to have time to go over this because I want to get through the whole SB2 post, is if you just search on request and you look to see right here, she says right here in the second one, she claimed that she did not specifically request many of the unmaskings and that other government officials must have used her name as a justification. So it just shows the weaponization of the government was heavy. And this is just big. This just goes on to show this whole thing was a complete entrapment operation. And so all these unmaskings are just going to come back and backfire on these guys. It's going to be really interesting to see how all that happens. Hey, the supporter of the sponsor of this episode is StemUp.com. So StemUp.com. And this is real interesting. I think I was telling you about my shoulder and just lifting weights and getting sore and wasn't healing at all. I ended up getting a bottle of this, took one pill every day, 60 days, and within 30, 40 days it was completely healed. And so I'm not sure if it was this, but who knows? But again, what's interesting about this is that when the time you're 65, 90% of your adult stem cells are gone. And this is a plant-based substitute. Some people are worried about, where are you getting the stem cells? No, this is a plant-based that actually has shown for some people to boost within an hour your stem cells up to 30%. And again, it's a plant-based capsule. And so, obviously research this and see the length of time you can take this safely, etc. But a lot of people are having success with this. It's at StemUp.com. Again, this the very thing that would cut your finger and that healing comes from those stem cells. And the fact that this product comes with a 30-day back money guarantee, and you can visit their website at StemUp.com. Support your body with organic stem cells at StemUp.com. Rejuvenate your bodily youth today. All right, guys, let's get into this SB2. This is a long one, and so a very long one. Probably take the whole hour to get through this, but it is so informative that I really suggest that you dig into this and hold on, because this is fantastic bit of information that I wasn't aware of much of it. So the title Serial Brain 2 gave this is The Shocking Truth About Iran and the Reason Trump Misspelled Locked, Sight, and Straight. So there's 3 misspellings you'll see in all his tweets that SB2 is using to decode different types of messages. It says, have you ever played the game called Mikado? You probably have at some point in your life. Here's the kid version. If you see, it's where you actually hold up all these sticks, right? These type of sticks, and then you drop them, hold them up like that, and you drop them all, right? And then you see if you can pick them up without moving the other sticks, and see who ends up with the most sticks. That's the one. And he's also saying, here's the teen version, and this is just about how to pick up girls, and it's just a whole video that is, almost 13 minutes long, telling you how to pick up girls. And so I don't know why he's calling that Mikado, but that's the teen version, he's saying. Now that we have a common understanding of what a bowl in a china shop is, we can analyze the Iran problem. First, some history. Iran, also called Persia, is a very ancient civilization that began with the formation of the Elamite kingdoms in the 4th millennium BC. And by the way, guys, I just wanted to say, with all these Iranian pronunciations, etc., I'm not gonna pronounce this stuff perfect. So just go with me. This is an awesome learning exercise. So don't let any pronunciation issues keep you from the content. Before, during, and after the Golden Islamic Age, Persians have contributed significantly to the advancement of human society with inventions ranging from refrigeration, postal service, sulfuric acid, batteries, water management, chess, algebra, to the guitar. Among the most famous Persians, we count the very well-known Cyrus the Great, who founded the Persian Empire. I did a whole on Isaiah 45 about Trump and the modern-day Cyrus of Trump, so you can go back and see videos on that. But that's Cyrus the Great, who founded the first Persian Empire. And you got Ibn Sina, better known as the West as Avicenna, who was the Muslim polymath, to whom we owe modern medicine, and Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, without who computing would have not existed, since he is the one considered by mathematicians to have invented algebra. In modern days, did you know the first woman to ever win the Fields Medal, the most prestigious award in mathematics, was Iranian? Her name was Miriam Mirzakhani. Here's a little
World-renowned Iranian mathematician Miriam Mirzakhani has died of cancer in hospital in the United States. She was the first ever female winner of the very prestigious Fields Medal. It's considered the Nobel Prize for Mathematics. The award in 2014 was in recognition of her work on complex geometry. She was 40 years old.
Isn't that cool? This is the people of Iran, a great people with a great history. And this is what the maestro meant when he asked about his decision to suspend airstrikes in retaliation to the Iranian attack against an unmanned U.S. drone. Listen to this until 8:32. He's telling us we're not going to be able to go through all these videos because there's a lot of them, but let's listen to some of what Trump's saying here.
For me, one thing I want to know, and I want to know it accurately as possible, how many people will die? Just so you know, I come from New York City. In New York City, we have a lot of Iranians, and they're great people. I have friends that are Iranians, many friends. Living in New York City, you meet many Iranians. They're very smart, they're very ambitious, they have they're high-quality people. But I have many friends that are Iranian. I don't want to kill 150 Iranians. I understand it. I don't want to kill 150 of anything or anybody unless it's absolutely necessary. And most people very much agree with what I'm doing. Now, if the leadership of Iran behaves badly, then it's going to be a very, very bad day for them. But hopefully they're smart, and hopefully they really care for their people and not themselves, and hopefully we can get Iran back onto an economic track that's fantastic, where they're a really wealthy nation, which would be a wonderful thing. All those things I want to do. But if they're going to be foolish, that's never going to happen.
There you go. As you can see, POTUS makes the difference between the great people of Iran and their leadership. This is key. He's hoping that Iran's leadership will represent their people while by being smart and by making the right choices. How? By moving away from the infiltrators who have betrayed Iranians and the bad advisors who have knowingly misled them for decades. For some history, read very carefully. And you're not going to be able to see this on the screen because it doesn't allow me to get it very large, but I'll do the best I can. This is talking about Iran from 1901 to 1954. Some great history here. The SB2 writes up. He says, in 1901, the Shah, Mossafarad Din, granted a 60-year oil concession to British millionaire and businessman William Knox Darcy, allowing him to explore, exploit, and refine Iranian oil in exchange for the payment of a concession fee of 2.1 million pounds today and 16% of all profits. After oil was found 7 years later, the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, APOC, was created on April 14, 1909, to begin production and exploration in accordance with the terms of the concession. The company is the ancestor of British Petroleum as we know it today. APOC started its commercial operations in 1913 from a refinery built at Abadan, and that would become, for its first 50 years, the largest oil refinery in the world. So this is all about oil, black gold, right? So you can see some pictures here of the Shah here as well as William Darcy. And this goes on in the 4 pages here. So industrial operations went so well that right before World War I, APOC was producing larger volumes than they could sell on the market. Since good things come in twos, Winston Churchill, who was the first Lord of the Admiralty, had a plan to convert the British Royal Navy from coal to oil and expressed his interest in APOC. In May 20th, 1914, the agreement was reached and the British government bought 51% of APOC stocks. After this highly strategic move, granting the British Navy all the energetic independence needed in the event of a major conflict, the Cabal could start World War I without fearing to see the UK being invaded. The war started 2 months later, on July 28, 1914. Guys, can you believe this? This Cabal purposely wants wars, but they wanted to make sure that England had energy independence there by doing this deal with APOC in Iran. So in 1950, 75% of Europe's oil was produced in Iran, and this created a situation of dependency, forcing British authorities to be more involved in Iranian politics. 50-50 profit-sharing deals recently signed by Standard Oil of New Jersey in Venezuela and by Aramco in Saudi Arabia have prompted Iranians to want to renegotiate the terms of the APOC concession. On March 15, 1951, despite intense British lobbying, the Iranian National Assembly, the Majlis, unanimously approved Mohammad, and this is this Mossadi proposal to nationalize Iran's oil. So this was like if you think, I look at this Mossadi as kind of like a Trump of Iran. He's looking after his own people, and he nationalizes Iran's oil and gets rid of all the British. Right? On April 28, 1951, the Shah reluctantly appointed Mossadi as prime minister, and the Majlis, because he was very popular, so Mossadi was. After the Majlis nominated him by a vote of 79 to 12, you can see how popular he was. Mossadi's first move was to keep his promise in Iran's oil, and by June 10, 1951, the National Iranian Oil Company took over APOC's operations. Britain rejected the nationalization, and Mossadi's became their worst enemy. So this is just like Trump. This guy came in, nationalized the oil, and then the Cabal hated him, especially the British Cabal, in this case, the Rothschilds. So now we continue this. It says, until January 1953, and with the help of the International Oil Cartel, the UK unsuccessfully tried to sophisticate, jeez guys, sorry about that, Iran by boycotting its oil, and even thought of occupying the refinery in Abadan. asphyxiate is what I was trying to say. They unsuccessfully tried to asphyxiate Iran by boycotting its oil and even through occupying the refinery in Iran. And I apologize. I talked a lot at work today, and so we'll see if I can get through all this. They had to abandon this military project called Plan Y because they were not supported by Truman, who wanted to avoid a possible direct confrontation with Russia. Despite the fact that Mossadegh was unable to efficiently sell his oil, he was considered to be a national and international hero and was even nominated Man of the Year by Time magazine on January 7th, 1952. You can see 1952, there he is. And here's a picture of him, Prime Minister Mossadegh. So even though he nationalized this and the Cabal puts this boycott around it and he can't even sell it all, he's still a national hero because he's taking care of his people. And yes, that's back in the days when the media was not completely taken over by Mockingbird. So that's a little bit of truth in the media was back then. In January 1953, Eisenhower became president and things changed drastically. The U.S. was now totally on Britain's side. So Truman was for the Iran nationalism, right? But now you got Eisenhower, a complete cabal, esquire, as they would say. The British MI6 and the CIA, the rogue part of the CIA, had already made plans to overthrow Mossadegh while Truman was president with a coup code named Boot. But the CIA deputy director, Dulles, knew Truman would not authorize it. Dulles kept his plans for Iran under his belt and waited until Eisenhower entered the White House. He then became director of the CIA, while his brother John Foster Dulles became his boss as Secretary of State. They renamed the coup operation against Iran Operation Ajax. Pretty cool, right? Isn't this sad? The stars were now aligned to destroy Mossadegh and enslave the people of Iran. After several unsuccessful attempts using the Shah, Baghatari tribal leaders or Shia clerics like Kashani, does that ring a bell? The MI6 CIA team was finally able to depose Mossadegh on August 19th, 1953. This was achieved by hiring a mob, including wrestlers, jugglers, and clowns, that attacked Mossadegh's home. More than 300 lives were lost. British and puppet Zahedi declared himself prime minister that same day, and Mossadegh surrendered the next day. With Eisenhower's blessing, the help of the Shah and Prime Minister Zahedi, a new oil arrangement was signed on August 29, 1954, in which Britain conceded 40% of the shares to their big private players. Duration of the agreement, 25 years and renewable for another 30 to 35-year term. Under this new agreement, Iran would get 50% of the profits, and the private consortium would not have to show its books. In other words, the consortium had the exclusive power to determine oil prices, and Iranians would only get what the consortium would agree to give them. Complete criminals is what these guys are. As you can see, with what they have done in Iran, the CIA and the British MI6 have given us their understanding of democracy and how it should be exported. I can hear clowns from here saying, "You don't get it. They were trying to stop communists." Oh, yes? Are you talking about the communists you also created? Then why did Eisenhower turn down Mossadegh's offer to sell his oil to America at 40% discount so that Iran could avoid dealing with the communist Russia and China? Why did Eisenhower put the UK's interests above America's interests? Why? Answer: because Eisenhower was an esquire and had to satisfy the British crown. So if you didn't see the last two SB2 decodes, you'll see clearly that the U.S. presidents are loyal to the crown. It's scary stuff when you really start looking at it. And this is another example right here, back to Eisenhower. There are two histories: official history, lying, and then Secret History, where you find the real causes of events. That was Honoré de Balzac. So here is the aftermath of the U.S.-UK clown operation in Iran. New oil agreements detrimental to Iranians signed for 25 years, end of the democratic experience through parliament, and a reinforced Shah helped by oil revenues for the establishment of his dictatorship. As planned, the Shah soon went nuts and became the laughingstock of the British nobility. And I'm not going to really play this, but this is a pretty long video of
the palace. A British scene of pageantry was reenacted.
Having reenactments there, having the Shah of Iran come in. But then when the Shah got bored with extravagance and his violent dictatorship, the oil crisis of 1973 gave him some new ideas. And those of you who are older probably remember this. Remember these lines? This plays music, unfortunately. So I have to turn that off or I'm going to get a strike. Just 1 second. Let me turn the sound off and I'll play this. But you'll see the... Yeah, so now you guys can't hear the sound, so remind me to turn that back up. But this is the oil crisis of 1973. Nixon proposed an extension of daylight savings time, and you can see out of gas. You had no gas on Saturdays and Sundays. It was bad stuff. You can see the lines. Overnight, the price of a barrel of oil had risen from $3 to $5.11. And look at the lines. I don't know if you can remember that from 1973. Lines formed during the week as gas stations across the country stopped selling fuel on Saturday nights and Sundays. No gas on Sunday. No gas. Bone dry. Closed. I'll do this for the American auto industry took a hit as Americans could no longer fill up. And they cut, and the automobile industry got killed. 79 million less cars they built. GM did. So it was really a bad thing. So I'm hearing Benny and Jets in my ear. You guys probably can't hear it, I'm hoping. That doesn't record that. But this guy's being interviewed and saying that people would return these big cars and leave them on the lot because they couldn't afford the gas in the car. In 1973, energy crisis dampened economic growth. Right, and they didn't play that long enough. I noticed that when I saw it the first time. And fostered inflation and introduced the idea of limitations on American culture. So this gave the idea to this new corrupt Shah that was a CIA puppet, right? And so here's an interview with this guy where he started raising the prices and really started going independent and rogue against Britain and everything. And this British guy's interviewing him. It's a real interesting interview. And he's saying, "Hey, we're not screwing you guys. You guys raised prices on us on stuff you sold to us." And the conversation goes on and on. Yeah, so you can listen to the rest of that if you'd like on your own. But as you can see, SB2 continues, he actually made some very good points. But he forgot one key parameter in his thinking. He was a CIA, MI6 controlled creation, and his people hated him. He was reminded this reality the hard way when on January 17th, 1979, an uprising forced him to leave the country and to never return. And so, yeah, thanks for reminding me to turn the sound back up next time I play a clip for you guys. Thanks. Oh, that's right. You guys couldn't hear that clip that I was playing for him right there. Let me just kind of go back to that. So he was playing. Thank you so much, Sean.
Will be asking themselves what it is that you and certainly some of your Arab counterparts,
That's right. So I
sheikhs,
turned it down
rulers,
for
and
the.
governments, have against them.
So they're asking, what do you have against UK people?
Does it in any
basically, is what
way
he's asking him.
serve your interests
Well, why-
to make the British economy suffer? And
Why against? First of all, it's not British economy. If you want to say anything, it should be the world economy. And this is not against, we're just defending our chips. Because for such a long time, we have just been, well, exploited, I can say that. And why don't you say that when the price of wheat was augmented by 300%, they had something against us? We had to buy it, or soybean, or steel products, or petrochemical products, which in some cases have augmented by 30 times. So
yes, you can see he's making some good points there. Sorry, I had to touch the sound off there for a while as I was turning down the music during the copyright strike during the 70s video. But anyway, you can see this guy was going to take advantage. Hey, he saw how much U.S. suffered with the oil crisis of 1973, and he realized he could make a lot of money. They started working with the OPEC and really hurting the British and American economy. So they went against the CIA. So as SB2 says, he actually made some very good points, but he forgot one key parameter in his thinking. He was a CIA MI6 controlled creation, and his people hated him. He was reminded of this reality the hard way on January 17, 1979, and an uprising forced him to leave the country and to never return. Next, the CIA microwaved a clerical asset that they previously exiled in France and used him to hijack the 1979 Iranian uprising against the Shah. His name was Khomeini. You thought the great people of Iran kicked out the Shah because they wanted Khomeini with his bogus version of Islamic Republic? Think again. Listen carefully to Margaret White, who was in Iran during this uprising. Again, this is pretty long. I'm not going to play it. I'll just play a little tiny piece that she talks about, and I'll tell you what's going on.
Because they'd had a history with the mullahs from '53, and all of their perspective about the U.S. motives and operations in Iran stemmed from that '53 coup. The CIA did its first foreign overthrow in Iran, and people who were there at the time taught their kids about it. They never forgot it, never forgave it. So it was a memory of having used the Ayatollahs in the 50s. What the CIA did, and the reason they did it, was to bring in people who had the most contact with ordinary Iranians and could influence them in the most powerful way, namely through the mosques. And it was also true that Savak was never watching the mosques, and so people of diverse political views often met in the mosques. The reason they didn't watch them was because they knew the mullahs were going to be in charge.
So anyway, you can see that the point is this. Khomeini was a CIA asset. We saw with an example of Khashoggi, who was activated against Mossadegh, how CIA MI6 tried to use Shia clerics to achieve political goals. They just happened to succeed with Khomeini. His exile in France, his return, and his press coverage to take over Iran were financed by the CIA. It's partly declassified, and this information even got mainstream right here. So here's an article right here that talks about this, where you can see U.S. had extensive contact with Ayatollah Khomeini before Iran revolution. So it leaked out that he was talking to Carter and all kinds of things beforehand. So there's an article, you can go into more detail there. By the way, this is where we're talking about the West, Britain, and the U.S. planned to overthrow their own puppet dictator in 1975 because he decided to go on his own way and didn't completely submit to the will of the puppet master. They decided that he must go after the oil crisis started in 1973. They organized a coup that was marked as a popular revolution of the people. They plan to do the same thing with the Mullah regime very soon, but the end result will still be the same. Iran will get looted and destroyed once again because the country's multicultural character and their ethno-culture corrupts what is rampant and hinders the so-called Iranians, whatever that stands for, to defend their national interests. So it's sad. You just got them being taken advantage of completely here. Everything that happened in Iran after the return of Khomeini is nothing but the continuation of the CIA MI6 plot to impoverish the Iranian people, enslave them, and to secure for the Cabal a rear base with nuclear weapons for leverage and protective purposes. The North Korea play. Q430. Who really controls North Korea? What families are protected using leverage? Bank financial leverage? Nuke strike package leverage? Why is Iran protected? And obviously the answer to this is the Rothschild Cabal. The Rothschild, right? So you got what families are protected? It's the Rothschild Cabal, the whole cabal in the United States of Soros and his minions, as well as the Vatican, as well as the whole financial part of the Rothschilds. That's what we're talking about, bank and financial leverage and nuke. Remember, just like they wanted the North Korean nukes, now they're trying to get them into North Korea, and they were using Syria. So the Rothschild Cabal is the ultimate beneficiary of the North Korea play that has been replicated in Iran. All the past U.S. and British politicians, from Eisenhower and Churchill to May, Hussein, and HRC, were just tools activated along with their CIA and MI6 to progressively build and solidify their nuclearized positions of leverage. Do you now see the power of this drop? Q888. Thank you, Kim. Deal made. Clowns out. Strings cut. We took control. Iran next. Q. Iran is next because Iran has the same problem North Korea had before Trump could get Chairman Kim on board. They are infiltrated by clowns and their nuclear weapons. They need Trump's help to cut the strings, get the clowns out, stop the clowns' nuclear programs, regain control of the country, and make a deal that will be profitable to the people. And all this must be achieved with as little collateral damage as possible. Once again, have you ever played a game called Mikado? Now you know how the maestro is going to play this. You thought the unmanned U.S. drone was taken down by Iran? No. It was shot down by a rogue asset activated by the Cabal in an attempt to trigger a disproportionate response from POTUS and create chaos in the region. How do I know? The maestro gave us a hint right here.
Iran was in 14 to 18 different sites of confliction. They were extremely hostile. They were hostile when they signed the deal. They were screaming death to America. Under the command of that country made a big
Are you still talking to Iran's leadership?
Let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens. It's all going to work out.
Do you feel like there are members of your administration who want
Say
to?
it?
Are you saying you think it wasn't intentional to strike the drone?
I don't know. I find it hard to believe it was intentional, if you want to know the truth. I think that it could have been somebody who was loose and stupid that did it. But we'll be able to report back, and you'll understand exactly what happened. But it was a very foolish move. That I can tell you.
Wow. You heard that. Quote, I find it hard to believe it was intentional. If you know the truth, if you want to know the truth, I think that it could have been somebody who was loose and stupid that did it. But we'll be able to report back, and you'll understand exactly what happened. Peruvian coffee for those who understood what the maestro meant by, quote, we'll be able to report back, and you'll understand exactly what happened, unquote. You know he's talking about the tweets, right? Ready? First, we analyze the 5 tweets made the day of the drone incident. Try to decode them. Here they are. Now, he's got 18 pictures here and Warren 3, so we're going to move through these briskly. And so he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things all from SAP opens a record high and it closes with SAP closes the record high. Talks a little bit here about a good story to tell. And he talks about Iran made a very big mistake. And then he's talking here to the Canadian Prime Minister doofus Justin Trudeau. Now, since the first and last tweets are similar, we group them and then decode the message and it immediately appears. You can see he's talking about the timestamps. This goes to certain Q drops. He's talking about QAnon 61, polls without applying credit file. How did Q know? Trust the plan. And then you'll see other things showing the S&P 500. And then you'll also see these pictures of them in London. It says public awareness forces hand. So the decoded message in this one is the day of the drone incident, the market opened and closed at record high. The drone incident was an attempt to pull the markets out of their natural course and use public perception to negatively impact them. They failed. Q had the intel. The maestro was hinting that the stock market resilience is demonstrating full white hat control. And here is the message decoded from the 3 other tweets. So you take all these things, this really good story to tell, unemployment lower, stop looking for work coming, still, do you believe? Then it points to the capital letters, you all got caught. And that point, the timestamp points to drop 914. For the record, Snowden put 2 and 2 together. Then they're talking about the Red Cross in Iran. You bring in a little bit more of his capital letters. The missing I for CIA, efficient and loyal intelligence. NSA together with the CGHQ, which is MI6 type stuff, operated by the GCHQ and the NSA. And you can see the whole decoded message here, that Trudeau thing there again. There's capital letters talking about he's a loser, ZZZ snoring. So the decoded message is this. Do you believe what I told you about the wins obtained in the UK? Ex-MI6 Christopher Still and all his friends are coming back to the labor force and have really good stories to tell. They are good versions of Snowden and are adding value. The US and UK intelligence communities are cooperating as true allies should to neutralize Iran. Canada is not on board yet. Trudeau is a loser. Thought that was funny. We gather from these 2 decodes that the drone incident was designed to negatively impact the stock market and was thwarted thanks to the intel gathered from a successful cooperation between the US and UK intel communities. But the maestro gave us more. He coded it in the tweets he dropped the next day. Here are a piece of the puzzle. Read carefully. Mrs. Clinton and political scams. So it's got this first one talking about crooked, and the timestamp goes into Mrs. Clinton if you look at the gematria of the capital letters. Sorry, that's the gematria of the capital letters. Then you look at this one about a hoax, and you look at the gematria, the gematria of the capital letters again is political scams. So you got Miss Clinton's political scams. Then you look at the timestamps and it brings you to Loretta Lynch. So why should all Annans appreciate Loretta Lynch? Q 1092. We love phones. Q 2260. Loretta Lynch. Recorded calls with Rod Rosenstein. Decoded message. One of the many crooked Hillary political scams and hoaxes has been discovered through surveillance. Now here is HRC's political scam confirmed. Here's some 4 more tweets talking about Iran, unmanned drone, capital letters pointing to -8 and +9 here, floating +1, and you take the timestamps talking about biting, and you get into this solution path of everything. And it's talking about all these different numbers Hillary that give you gematria of Hillary Clinton and communication confirmed by Lynch's phone records in Q 2259 and Q 2260. And you can see this is a bunch of information, brings us to, the timestamps bring us to a drop 3203, which talks about phone records leak. Where did you hear that before? And so then you go to these other 4 tweets, you look at the timestamps, brings you to 2003. Ask yourself, who is trying to start a war? Ask yourself, if a missile was launched by rogue actors, what would be the purpose? Ask yourself, what should immediately start a war? Ask yourself, would the public understand the following statement? Quote, rogue actors, clowns, U.S. former heads of state initiate a missile launch in order to force the U.S. into a war conflict against X. Be the Ossus we know you are. Here's a decoded message. The Cabal wants to start a war with Iran and has activated HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and her network to deliver. The drone incident was a false flag, a political scam using rogue assets planted in the Iranian military apparatus. There you go, clowns everywhere, guys. Obama's chip, the beauty of Q, 1948. So now we start getting into these next tweets. Talks about gave them $150 billion plus $1.8 billion in cash. Gave them a free path to nuclear weapons. I terminated the deal. Now they are bust. And you can see the capital letters talk about spreading radical ideology. Capital letters Obama's chip. So let's read the decoded message here. There's a lot of other stuff right here as well, by the way, to the right, that I'm not going to get into because it's, but it's talking about Rouhani keeps unknown commas as insurance. So basically, Rouhani did the deal with the Iran deal, but he kept insurance of the comms. And what agency collects all forms of data? You're right, it's the NSA. President of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, kept a personal communication in his undisclosed deal as insurance, and of course, the NSA has it all. So here's a decoded message. We already know Hussein is a CIA asset helped by other CIA asset, Michael, and controlled by the Muslim Brotherhood through Al-Awid. Now neutralized. And Valerie Jarrett. Goodbye. With their asset in the White House, the Cabal had a lifetime opportunity to resolve many operational issues. Before leaving, Hussein was instructed to send big money to his CIA buddies to continue to nuclearize Iran and North Korea and finance terrorism. Iran has the platform used to funnel the money, and an old financial dispute with Iran was the pretext. Congress and the U.S. government were kept in the dark because laws were knowingly being broken. They never thought she would lose. From Q, 1948, we learned that Hussein, former mayor of Chicago R. Daley, current mayor of Chicago R. Emanuel, Brennan, John Kerry, Angela Merkel, and 29 other identified individuals were involved in this financial operation that, despite the U.S. having the authority to do a bank-to-bank transfer, was conducted with several planes flying pallets of cash in order to circumvent traceability. To avoid government audit and awareness on the part of the cash, one plane out of the 5 that were chartered landed outside of Iran, and a helicopter was used for further transportation of the cash. Man, we had a criminal in the White House, guys. Night vision and secret talks. So here's another tweet talking about night and 3 different sites, and the capital letters equal night owl, Biding and night, and the capital letters there, secret talk at 3:00 a.m. And you can see here the availability. So here's a decoded message. Sites, S-I-T-E-S, capitalized, is purposely misspelled to signify that the situation was examined through multiple intel tools, including the OWL night vision capability. So you can see right here is where he, I'm trying to remember where he misspelled sites. But anyway, the OWL is relative to the now famous Q 1409 through Q 1414 riddle, which we went through in the past, and that is connected to the bad actor secured comm, ultimately cracked by the Q team. This allowed to gather the intel relative to the chain of command behind the drone incident. The availability of this intel allowed secret talks to take place and to determine the level of responsibility truly claimed by the highest Iranian authorities and not the one expressed publicly. If POTUS stops the retaliation operation, it means that at least at the last minute, Iran has distanced itself from the drone attack and its perpetrators. Iran has started its silent revolution. There is no need to rush. Sanction and the people of Iran certainly get the job done. Woo, that's good news there, isn't it? Isn't it? All right, I'm going to take a quick break to just talk about the second sponsor here, which is going to be the Trump coin. So the Trump2020.com is this awesome silver bar now. You guys probably saw this. This is a United We Stand 10-ounce bar. It's just gorgeous. Again, you're going to go to Trump2020.com. On the back of it, it is an American flag. American flag on 10 ounces of silver. And look at that. United We Stand. Beautiful. Plus, you're going to get the Trump coin as well. You get this combination for a price with $30 off with my coupon code. So again, if you come down here, you can come and get this right here. The front and the back is just beautiful. It's a $249 piece of 11 ounces of silver. And then you can view the cart and get $30 off. You're going to put Blessed to Teach 30 in here. Make sure the Blessed 2 is a 2. Teach 30. So Blessed to Teach 30. You'll see the coupon code down below. You apply that, get you $30 off of this. And by the way, you can also get a 401k opened up if you call Noble Gold. They have a pretty cool deal right now. I'm going to give you that number in just a second. And you can see the link down below in this. But they're getting a gold IRA right now is a pretty smart thing to do. If you just look at what's happened to the gold pricing right now, and what if they go to the gold standard, what can happen, right? So anyway, just use the link down below. But to get a gold IRA, sometimes people have a lot of 401ks from different companies. If they consolidate them, if it's over $20,000 and you open that up, you'll get a free 11 ounces. Get a free 10-ounce sale plus the Trump coin that has the delivering as promised on it. Very cool deal from Noble Gold. Again, you can go to TrumpCoin2020.com or look at the links down below to actually get that. All right, let's get back to SB2 and finish up this decode. So that was image the owl, image 10. We're on image 11 now. And this is so funny. You probably saw this. I retweeted this where the Trump was trolling people with the Trump forever 90,000 right here, right? And then you had if you looked at the time he did that, it brings you to 2650, the drop of Q. It says, why do D's always force Republicans to include spending bills for approval? Billions of dollars for foreign aid. Who audits where the money actually goes? How do politicians become extremely wealthy while in office on government salaries? Power of the purse. Power equals protection. The will of corruption. Welcome to the con. Q. What's the decoded message here? Democrats push for billions of dollars for foreign aid for kickbacks. This is the con used by DC politicians to become extremely healthy and to empower assets like Soros. Organizations applying for foreign aid only receive funding if they accept to give these kickbacks in various forms: donations, contracts, foundations, etc. The supposed ultimate beneficiaries never receive their funds, remain in need of foreign aid, and the vicious circle continues. Trump is aware and has shut down the foreign aid con that Nancy likes so much. In the particular case of Iran, the next move is to patiently wait until all funds are depleted and that the people of Iran take direct control of its destiny. But there is more on foreign aid. More foreign aid, fatten the cow and slaughter it. So you can see here's this is a I'm not sure why he's bringing us this 2607. It's probably because of this timestamp here. And it's all about how much money cash was sent by the Fed to Iraq in the Iraq War. How much money cash was confiscated from Iraq's central bank. If it worked in Iraq, why not replicate in Iran? That's what that video was talking about, right? About how they went and plundered everything from Iran once, and then they gave all the money and back to them. They're going to go take it back from the mullahs later. That was the whole plan under Hillary of what was going to happen. How much money cash was sent to Iran? Who has access to the funds? Who really has access to the funds? Do the funds return in the form of political donations? Do the funds return in the form of massive donations to foundations or institutes? And you'll see there's a Guardian. How U.S. sent $12 billion in cash to Iraq and watched it vanish. Investigating into missing Iraqi cash ended in Lebanon bunker. And then all of a sudden we take over Lebanon. Decoded message. A variant of foreign aid move that can be played at the presidential level. Sorry, Nancy. Fatten the cow with billions of dollars of foreign aid. Secured oil money or cash injection justified by so-called military operations. Then slaughter it through invasion and with the help of the corrupt local assets. When done with proper accompanying confusion, this operation allows to deplete the entire central bank and to make billions of dollars magically disappear from the Fed. It worked for Iraq. Did they have a plan to replicate in Iran? Scary stuff, guys. They thought their comms were private and secure. You can see here Trump is tweeting here, and it was retweeted at 9:49. So you look at 21:49 here. No private comms, past, present, future. No comms made outside of this platform. Decoded message. Black hats don't get it. No private comms, past, present, future. No comms made outside of this platform. Isn't it clear? That's 1314 gets into a retweet of Mark Meadows and a couple of 2151 and 2052 where the media was working with the FBI. It says decoded message. Network infrastructure known. Q571. Do you know that we see all? Do you know that we hear all? Fear the storm. Nobody playing the game gets a free pass. Nobody. Q. Then a couple other tweets here. When he retweeted Jim Jordan here, brought us to 952. You go to 2152 based on the 2400 rule. And it comes to a Breitbart article about Pope Francis compares Vatican whistleblower and Satan. And here's the summarized decoded message. So this is like the very end of this. Well, it continues to go for a while. So this is going to decode all those together. It says, surveillance determined that the unmanned U.S. drone shot down by Iran on June 20th, 2019 was a political scam ordered by the Rothschild Cabal and conducted by HRC and controlled assets within the Iranian military. The purpose was to disturb and weaken markets and to trigger a disproportionate response from POTUS that would cause chaos in the Middle East. Surveillance and whistleblowers helped analyze the chain of command that resulted in the drone incident. This allowed to verify through secret talks whether the Iranian authorities would continue to claim responsibility for it. The retaliation operation was canceled at the last minute when assurances were given by Iran that this drone incident was a big mistake. This is proof Iran has started its silent revolution at the highest levels of the government. Let us hope that like North Korea, Iran will succeed in getting out of the quagmire of the cabal and its CIA without too much collateral damage. Through sanctions and the wise use of military might, POTUS is offering a way out to Iran, which is the exact same one he offered to North Korea, and that resulted in the following. Q 1465. Would you believe Hussein tried to call Kim prior to the summit? He did not have his updated phone number. North Korea generals released closed the pathway for bad actors. Q. Hussein, HRC, Merkel, Macron, Kerry, Brennan, and all their Iranian and non-Iranian friends are terrified that Trump and Iranian patriots will be able to find a peaceful solution to the Iran problem. They would rather destroy Iran in an artificially created war than risk having their multiple crimes exposed. Now that POTUS has pulled out from the bogus Iran deal, bad actors who were involved fear that Iran officials will disclose everything they know. Q 1320. The deal kept Iran quiet. The deal was nothing more but corruption at the highest levels of the government involved. Q 1345. Define bribe. Define kickback. Corruption at the UN technical level. Q 1348. Nuke inspector quit. Coincidence days after Iran deal withdrawal? Corruption everywhere. Q. A cash cow for friends in the private sector. Q 1345. What US, EU companies immediately closed large deals in Iran post-deal. And a way to steal several $100 billion every year from the U.S. taxpayers. Q 1256. What's at risk? $250 billion times 2 a year? What the taxpayers don't know. This continues here on this next. And if only this deal was worth something. What if I told you that the Iran nuclear deal was just a cover? That the nuclear facilities were actually in northern Syria and the nuclear program never ceased, and that the Iran deal was specifically and knowingly drafted to protect the real nuclear program. It's right here. Q 1306. Define the terms of the Iran nuclear deal. Does the agreement define and confine cease and desist pro to the Republic of Iran? What if Iran created a classified satellite nuclear facility in northern Syria? What if the program never ceased? Now you know why POTUS ordered the strikes against Syria. Q 1306. Why did we strike Syria? Why did we really strike Syria? Define cover. And why Hussein and HRC used the Uranium-1 vehicle to export our uranium, Q 1306. Where did the Uranium-1 material end up? Is this material traceable? Yes. Define cover. What if Uranium-1 material ended up in Syria? Now question, if the Rothschild Cabal and its puppets knew Iran never had the nuclear facilities and that they were hidden in North Syria, what was the purpose of dispersing $250 billion times 2 per year of our tax money and pushing US UE top companies to massively invest and be present in Iran? Answer: to fatten the cow. The end game of the Rothschild Cabal was to destroy Iran after having made sure there was enough of our money there to loot it. Q 2807. If it worked in Iraq, why not replicate in Iran? How much money cash was sent to Iran? Will Iran take control of its destiny and succeed in avoiding Iraq's trajectory? Q 1359. Will Iran expose the names of corrupt officials? We can be optimistic, folks. They are a smart people, a great people. Q 1491. Why are many Iranian resistance freedom fighters tagging #QAnon on Twitter? Big things coming, folks. Q+. Tell you what, we now have the background knowledge to easily decode why Trump misspelled straight, S-T-R-A-I-T, in his tweet yesterday. Read very carefully. The Strait of Hormuz, the if oil business. So you can see here he misspelled it and then he put it back up with the right spelling. 91% of its oil from the strait. Japan 62%. And it's got and then he's got another one here. He's talking about a dangerous journey. We don't even need to be there. In that the U.S. has just become by far the largest producer of energy anywhere in the world. And if you look here, here's the Strait of Hormuz, right, which used to be this critical place, and the Rothschilds would make sure problems were happening there on purpose so they could justify all of this mess. Why would he route through Russia? How many different flights per day from HKG, Hong Kong, to UIO? Solution path. Straight is corrected to straight by dismissing the GH. That was a misspelling, not having the GH. GH elliptically brings F1, surrounding letters in the alphabet, which brings IF. If is confirmed by 91% and 62%. 9 equals I, 6 equals F. And 1, 2 represents the alphabetic order and found earlier. If is coded for uncertainty in the region. Decoded message, the if business. Before Trump, 1/3 of the world's traded oil supplies used to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. One of the Rothschild cabal's favorite game was to manipulate the world oil prices by destabilizing the Straits of Hormuz and Gibraltar and their surroundings. Why take the dangerous and tortuous route of being energetically dependent from the Middle East and its precious straits when the U.S. can take a straight route and produce its own oil? Now that Trump has successfully made the U.S. the largest producer of energy in the world, the Rothschild cabal has lost its leverage using the Middle East oil and destabilization card. In the particular case of Iran, the diplomatic equation is now simplified. No nuclear weapons and no sponsoring of terror. Period. Are you tired of winning yet? You want more? Listen to what the maestro says about these straits.
With additional sanctions on Iraq, good question. And some of them are in place. As you know, we have about as strong a sanction grouping as you could possibly have on any country, but we're putting additional sanctions on. They're going on slowly and in some cases actually pretty rapidly. But Iran, additional sanctions are being put on Iran. Very little. That's what it's all about. You know, we have built, and right now, if you look at the United States, very importantly, we are the #1 oil producer, oil and gas in the world by far. We're way ahead of Russia. We're way ahead of Saudi Arabia. We don't really need the straits anymore. We take some, but we don't need it. The biggest beneficiary of the straits is China. 91% of their energy comes out of the straits. Japan, Indonesia, many other countries need it. So we're doing them a very big service by keeping the straits open. But this is not about the straits. This is about Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple.
All right, do you see it? He's playing the NATO card. He's essentially saying, hey guys, do you realize that now I have secured my energy supply domestically? I don't need to have a military presence around the straits anymore. What would happen if I started charging you for securing your oil? What would happen if I withdraw my military personnel and infrastructure from the region? Now you see how the trade deal with China invites itself into the Iranian equation and how progressively governments will have to fight their own deep state franchises to cut strings from the Rothschild cabal for their nations to survive. Do you see what I mean? Look how the maestro played the tariff card on Mexico to resolve the border crisis. When he spoke about tariffs, it only took the Mexican government a few hours to forget their friendship with Pelosi and start playing ball with Trump. Iran surpasses Mexico by the number of filled metals, but Mexico was very quick to solve this equation purposed by Trump. Politics at its finest. Q. 1690. You are watching the systematic destruction of the old guard. Power will return to the people. Q. Wow, guys, that was a long and awesome history lesson on Iran and linking in exactly how the Cabal is controlling Iran, just like they did North Korea with the North Korea play. Beautifully done, SB2, Serial Brain 2. Let me pray. We're at over an hour. Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for Serial Brain 2, all the white hats, President Trump. Just please protect them, Lord. Pray for a blessing on the July 4th event, for safety to everybody that's there. And we just thank you, Lord, for touching this nation and healing it, and for healing many of the patriot countries worldwide, Lord. Use us in a mighty way, Lord. And as I launch this cultural impact system, Lord, I just pray that many people will come to understand and get back into this fight, take ground, become part of the army of God, become part of the patriot movement, where we actually get involved in taking the culture back of our country. How exciting this is. Lord, we thank you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Sorry for the late show and length of this. It's 1:06, so I'm going to wrap it up right now. What an exciting time, though. Thank you for joining me here live, and for Scoob being the new moderator there as well. We got the criminal Cabal and Iran. Review the SB2 Decode. Unmasker in Chief Samantha Powers. That's going to be a big one. The Sally Yates is a whole nother thing, right? This is Rick, your host at Bless the Teach Show here on Wednesday, June 16th. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.